Hello students, I am Mohan Kumari. Welcome to MK classes for biology. Today I am going to continue the NEET synopsis part of the chapter Reproduction in Organisms. In today's class we are going to study about sexual reproduction in organisms. Yes, here we go with the synopsis. As we all know, sexual reproduction, it is the development of new individuals through the formation and fusion of male and female gametes. Sexual reproduction is also called amphimexis or syngenesis or amphigony. So amphimexis, in Greek, amphi is both, mixis is union. In syngenesis, syn is together, genesis is the origin. In amphigony, amphi is both, gony is the marriage. So, sexual reproduction, which involves the formation and the fusion of both male and female gametes. So, during the process of sexual reproduction, the male and female gametes fuse to form the zygote, which develops into new organisms by the process of mitosis. As the individuals produced here involve meiosis during gamete formation and gametic fusion. So they exhibit genetic variation and difference from either of their two parents or amongst themselves. So let us see modes of sexual reproduction. So in that, syngamy. So syngamy, it is said to be the complete and permanent fusion of male and female gametes to form the zygote. Strasburger discovered syngamy. So let us see, syngamy is of two types. Syngamy is of two types, that is exogamy and endogamy. So exogamy, also known as cross-fertilization, and it involves the fusion of two gametes produced by different parents. Thus, it is biparental. You can say in case of rabbit and other unisexual organisms. So, endogamy is the second type of syngamy, and it is also called as self-fertilization. And it involves the fusion of two gametes of the same parent. Thus, it is uniparental. You can see in case of tapeworm and other hermaphrodites, that is bisexual organisms. So, on the basis of the structure of fusing gametes, syngamy is of four types. So, on the basis of the structure of fusing gametes, syngamy is of four types. Those are isogamy, anisogamy, oogamy, and hologamy. Isogamy, anisogamy, oogamy, and hologamy. So, in case of isogamy, the fusion of morphologically similar gametes takes place. Fusion of morphologically similar gametes. You can see in case of monocystis. In case of anisogamy, the fusion of two dissimilar gametes takes place. You can see in case of frog, rabbit, mammals, red algae, and etc. In oogamy, of course, dissimilar gametes are involved, but here the female gamete is always larger and non-motile, and the male gamete is smaller and motile. Yes, here in oogamy, the fusion of large non-motile female gamete, that is egg, and the small motile male gamete, that is anthrozoids, involves. So this can be seen in red algae, vertebrates including human beings, and higher invertebrates. In case of hologamy, the fusion of two organisms takes place which act as gametes. You can see in case of yeast. So these are the four different types of syngamy classified based on the structure of fusing gametes, that is isogamy, anisogamy, oogamy, and hologamy. let us study about the another mode of sexual reproduction. It is the conjugation. So conjugation here, it involves temporary union of two parents of the same species which exchange their male pronuclei and then separate. It is somewhat like cross-fertilization and found in Paramecium, bacteria and other ciliates. And it provides genetic variability among the organisms of the same species. Let us study about conjugation in bacteria now. Conjugation in bacteria. In case of bacteria, sex organs are not formed. So there is no fusion of gametes and production of zygote. So genetic recombination in bacteria takes place by conjugation. So conjugation, which was discovered by Liederberg and Tatum in 1946 in E. coli. So it occurs between two sexually different strains of bacteria. One acts as donor, one acts as donor of genes, which is said to be the male partner, and the other as recipient or the female partner. So the donor possesses, here is the donor possesses 6 factor or the fertility factor, which is a small circular genetic particle which is a DNA. Yes, here is the donor which possesses the sex factor, or I can say the fertility factor, which is a small genetic particle of circular DNA. Sex factor determines the formation of sex pillus or the sex pili in plural, which forms a conjugation bridge between the donor and the recipient. So the two bacteria, that is F plus and F minus, come close to each other during conjugation. So F factor, which divides into 2, out of which one remains in the donor cell and the other move to the recipient through the conjugation bridge. As a result of, the F minus cell now becomes F plus cell. Thus, a conjugation between F plus and F minus strains always yield F plus progeny. This is how conjugation takes place in bacteria. Yes. Now let us study about the sexual reproduction in algae. Sexual reproduction in algae. Depending upon the structure and behavior of gametes in algae, fusion is of 3 different types. That is isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy. Isogamy you can see in Eulothrix, Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Edogonium, etc. And isogamy you can see in Chlamydomonas. Oogamy you can see in Chlamydomonas, Fucus, Cara, Volvox, etc. Here the Chlamydomonas can show all the 3 modes of fusion, that is isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy. So this is the sexual reproduction you can see in algae. So if we see in fungi, let us study about sexual reproduction in fungi. So sexual reproduction in fungi, which involves plasmogamy, it is nothing but the fusion of protoplast of male and female cells, and karyogamy, that is nothing but fusion of male and female nuclei forming zygotic nucleus. And subsequently it undergo meiosis to convert the diploid zygote cell into haploid spores. To convert diploid structure to haploid spores. So gametes may be isogametes, as in rhizopus and mucor, and they are labeled as plus and minus. Isogametes, those are similar gametes morphologically, and the male gametes are designated as labeled as plus with a plus sign, and the female with the minus, and form a zygospore on fusion. And different types of gametes are produced in heterogametic species of fungi. So male gametes are produced in antheridium, and the female gametes are produced in oogonium. Male gametes produced in antheridium and the female gametes produced in oogonium. Same mycelium can produce both male and female sex organ called homothallic mycelium. Or if at all, male and female sex organ may born on different mycelia and called as heterothallic mycelium. So in some fungi, sex organs are not developed. So, and two vegetative cells undergo fusion, and that phenomena, that fusion, is called as somatogamy. So if I say about ascomycetes, the members of ascomycetes in fungi, the sexual spores are called ascospores, which are formed in asci, or in singular I can use ascus, by the process called as meiosis. These asci or ascus, which are produced in the fruiting body, called ascocarps. These ascocarps are mainly of three types based on their shape and structure. So that is, the first one is Clistothecium. Here in the Clistothecium, the ascocarp is completely closed and spherical body, opening by the breakage of the outer valve. This is the Clistothecium, which is a ascocarp. So next one is Perithecium. So Perithecium, it is a flask shaped. So you can see here it is a flask shaped body having a terminal opening, or it can be called as ostiole. The next one is Apothecium. Apothecium. It is a cup-shaped fruiting body with the wide mouth opening. So here the mouth which is wide. So these are the three different types of ascocarp classified based on their shape and structure. That is Clistothecium, Perithecium and Apothecium. If we see in Basidiomycetes, basidiospores are produced on the tip of the basidium. So basidiospores are produced on the tip of the basidium. So at the apex of basidium, which consists of 4 haploid basidiospores, which on germination produce monokaryotic mycelium, or it can be called as the primary mycelium, which can be of either of plus strain or minus strain of the mycelium. So this you can see in Basidiomycetes. And if I say about Deuteromycetes, sexual reproduction is completely lacking here. So that is about the reproduction, sexual reproduction in fungi. So let us study about the sexual reproduction in bryophytes. Sexual reproduction in bryophytes. Sex organ in bryophytes, which are said to be multicellular and are covered by multicellular sterile jackets. The male sex organ is the antheridium, encloses the mass of androcytes, and these androcytes give rise to biflagellate motile anthrozoids. Yes, the male sex organ is called as antheridium, encloses a mass of androcytes. These androcytes give rise to biflagellate motile anthrozoids. The female sex organ is called as archegonium, which is a multicellular flask-shaped structure, and it is differentiate into flask-shaped structure, multicellular flask-shaped structure like this. It is differentiated into, you can see here the flask-shaped structure, which is archegonium. You can see in case of bryophytes. So it is differentiated into the basal solen part, which is called as venter, and the elongated neck part, which is here is the elongated neck part, and the basal solen part, which is called as venter. So this venter region, which encloses the egg or oosphere, which encloses the egg, or it can be called as oosphere. On maturity, the egg fuses with the anthrozoid and forms a diploid zygote. This is how you can see sexual reproduction in case of bryophytes. Now this diploid zygote, which undergo repeated cell division, so give rise to embryo, then embryo which forms a sporophytic body. This is about the sexual reproduction in bryophytes. So now let us see the sexual reproduction in higher plants. Sexual reproduction in higher plants. So in higher plants, the production of male and female gametes are common during sexual reproduction. The male gamete or the sperm, which are produced in pollen grains and are transferred to female gamete or the egg via the process of pollination. The fusion of male and female gametes, or you can say syngamy, occurs and zygote develops. This is how sexual reproduction in higher plants can be seen. So if I say about sexual reproduction in higher animals, male and female are generally different. In higher animals, produce male and female gametes separately. Fusion of these gametes develops zygote which produce the young one. This is about the sexual reproduction in higher animals. Let us study about special modes of reproduction now. So special modes of reproduction. So in that, the one such mode is parthenogenesis. Here you can see the parthenogenesis. So parthenogenesis refers to the development of an egg into a complete individual without fertilization. Yes, it occurs in many invertebrates like rotifers or arthropods and vertebrate like Lesata saxiola armenica, which is said to be the Armenian lizard. This is the parthenogenesis. The second mode is the parthenocarpy. Parthenocarpy. Here it is the production of fruits without fertilization. Generally, the fruits which are produced after sexual reproduction, where it includes seeds and seed enclosing the embryo, you can see generally. But here in this phenomena, parthenocarpy, here the fruits are formed without seeds. Why? Because here the fruits are formed without fertilization. So you can ask the differences between the parthenogenesis and parthenocarpy. Let us see the differences between parthenogenesis and parthenocarpy. So in the parthenocarpy, as I told you, development of fruit which takes place without fertilization. Here development of new organism itself takes place without fertilization of the egg. So here seedless fruits are produced in parthenocarpy, the fruits which are said to be seedless. Here the organisms produced are a female clone and cannot reproduce sexually because these individuals are formed by a female gamete without fertilization. So I can say it is the organisms produced are called as a female clone and it cannot reproduce. The offsprings are not produced in this parthenocarpy, only fruits are produced. Here haploid offsprings are produced without fertilization. So these are the main differences between parthenogenesis and parthenocarpy. So the another type of reproduction mode, that is polyembryony. Polyembryony. So polyembryony, which is said to be the occurrence of more than one embryo in the seed. Yes, this is the occurrence of more than one embryo in the seed. The next process is the neoteny. It is the neoteny. The larva of aneurin embryos, that the larva of the aneurin embryos, that is amphibian larva, failed to go through normal metamorphosis. It failed to go through the normal metamorphosis, but it attains sexual maturity in the larval stage itself. Now the larva is able to reproduce. This phenomena is called as the neoteny. So you can say this in case of axolotl larva of necturans. So one more process, we are calling it as pedogenesis. So pedogenesis is the reproduction by sexually mature larvae causing by acceleration and maturation. Here this also involves the reproduction by larvae only. That is the reproduction by sexually mature larvae caused by acceleration of maturation. So you can ask me, what is the difference between the neoteny and pedogenesis? Here the neoteny and pedogenesis, the ultimate result is the larval reproduction. So but there is a difference between the neoteny and the pedogenesis. Let us study about that. So here the organisms should have to develop. During the developmental courses, the organism should show somatic development as well as the reproductive development. So in case of neoteny, neoteny phenomena showing organisms, here somatic development is delayed. So somatic development is delayed, but the reproductive development is constant. But in case of pedogenesis, somatic development is constant, but the reproductive development is accelerated. So it is a main difference between the neoteny and the pedogenesis. Of course, both the phenomena which show larval reproduction. So another important mode of reproduction, it is the androgenesis. Here is the androgenesis. Androgenesis is the development of an embryo with paternal chromosomes only. That means the chromosomes of sperm, accomplished by removing or destroying the egg nucleus before syngamy. And that process is called as androgenesis. And the other one is gynogenesis. In some species of roundworm and flatworm, the sperm penetrates the egg and stimulates the development. but soon degenerates without having taken any part in the formation of embryo. This phenomena is also called as the pseudogamy or the partial fertilization. So these are the other modes of reproduction. So in this we had studied other modes of reproduction like parthenogenesis, parthenocarpy, polyembryony, neoteny, pedogenesis, androgenesis and gynogenesis. To this we have completed the synopsis part of this chapter. Thank you.